Sports Scene, Hampton Road's premier interview show with Greg Bicouvaris, each Saturday from 10 a.m. to 11.
And you look at that, 4-4 at home, which is just average, 4-3-1 on the road. I mean, you're not going to win any games like that. They were not the same team after they beat the Packers, yet the Packers were a totally different team.
Interact with Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic and listen weekly as Greg interviews distinguished guests with excellent commentary and insight. Sports Scene, Saturdays at 10 a.m. on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM. From Chesapeake, Virginia, the Lighthouse 100.1 presents Sports Scene. Sports Scene features local, regional, and nationally acclaimed guests and excellent interviews. Follow Sports Scene on Twitter @GregBic. Now here is Greg Bicouvaris.
Sports Scene presented by Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com. Sports Scene midweek online Saturday on the radio on WPMH AM 1010, 100.1 FM, and TuneIn.com by typing WPMH in the search bar. Tell your friends about Sports Scene. Twitter @GregBic, @GJB Radio, and you can see the rest of my Twitter handles on GJBTV.com by going to the contact section. Thank you to our military for what you do 24/7. Guest lineup presented by Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Phone line presented by Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville and Virginia Beach, now delivering. GJBTV.com. Major League Baseball in full swing now that the All-Star break is come and gone. NFL camps in full gear. Norfolk Tides finishing up their season in the month of August and pretty much through Labor Day. Great interviews, excellent guests, business segments, highlights, commentary, what tees me off. Thank you for listening to Sports Scene. We love our regulars, locals, tourists, newcomers who listen online and on the radio. Stay tuned.
Thank you, too, for your great show, because it really makes people think about topics that are important. I listen and I love, and I've called in before, too. I just really appreciate your program. I also think that it's good to have debates because it lets us all dig a little deeper. Hey, what does God's Word say about that? So I appreciate your show. I think it's great, and I think we all should be digging deeper into the Word of God and seeking God as to what He's called us to do.
Be sure to tune into Picking Up the Habit every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. here on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to GJBTV.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
And welcome back to Sports Scene. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us @GregBic on Twitter. A pleasure to talk to the director and owner of Cape Henry Racquet Club in Virginia Beach, former Old Dominion tennis coach, former tennis coach at Norfolk State. Darryl, how are you, my friend?
Greg, I'm doing excellent. I'm well. How about yourself?
Very good, my friend. Of course, Darryl also hosted a show on News Talk 1650 back in the day, a few years ago. Of course, the Sports Philosophy Show. So very well-respected tennis guru. First of all, Darryl, before we get into your background and career, let's talk about the Wimbledon phenom Coco. Your thoughts on her? Very young player, teenager, going to that world stage.
Yes, I mean, it's great for American tennis. Certainly a phenom, and it appears that they really got a lot of things in place with her that already have a sense of excellence. So, for example, she's managed by the same company that Roger Federer is, and Federer's part owner of that company. So she's managed by Tony Godsick, and I think it's called Group 8 or something like that. That he's managed by. In addition, I think Patrick Matagalu has his experience in there, which is Serena's coach, and I thought that was going to be interesting if she won. I think she would have got a shot at Serena, and I wanted to see whose box Patrick was going to stay in. And I guess it would have been Serena's. But anyway, phenom, and they seem they got a great team around her. And so it's going to be pretty cool to follow her. And because, I'm sure Serena can't go past 42.
Goodness.
I'm going to give her another 5 years, but because she's phenomenal. And having I think she's 37, having her out there is phenomenal too, and but it's just think in 3 years Coco will be 18. I mean, she'll be 18. So anyway, that's good, fantastic for American tennis to have Coco out there.
Darryl, let me ask you that, because you've coached a lot of women in Division I tennis. Is that a double-edged sword that here you have a 15-year-old girl surpassing all these major Division I tennis athletes that are female? You know, does that say a lot about women's sports, about tennis? You got a teenage kid who's already superseding major Division I tennis players at elite SEC and ACC schools, and people that play in the USTA circuit. Is that more kind of a negative thing as well?
I don't perceive it to be negative. I mean, women historically have matured faster than men in the sport of tennis. The Capriati, Hingis, certainly Everett, and many more have matured at a very young age. So no, I don't see that as a negative. I mean, she's certainly, given her level of play, she's exceeded college tennis, and for her to play professionally, the big thing that's sort of hampering her a little bit, and Federer actually spoke about this in his news conference, was the fact that due to her age, the WTA has some restrictions, I think, where she can only play about 10 events. I don't know if that's the actual number. It's somewhere between 8 and 12, but I think it's 10 events in a year due to her age. And Federer felt like, that wasn't fair for someone like her. And I think the WTA has adjusted that and given her a couple of more events to play, because to only play 10 or 12 events in a year, when you're chasing points and rankings, it's really not a lot, not the same kind of opportunity that the 18-year-old person. But I think for this sport, women have shown a history, and they've shown that also at the college level and at the junior level, that they develop faster and sooner than their male counterparts.
Talking to Darryl Cummings, former Old Dominion and Norfolk State tennis coach. Greg Bicouvaris, glad you're with us on Sports Scene every Saturday morning from 10 to 11 on WPMH, AM, FN, and TuneIn.com. Darryl, how about the summer tennis circuit here in Hampton Roads in Virginia? Of course, the state clay courts in Richmond, always a great event, and it was great to see Mark Vines, who won the Paris Indoor way back in '81, still playing, doing well in Lynchburg. It just shows you that tennis really is a sport of a lifetime.
Oh, I'm actually, I've been at the Richmond, the McDonald's Clay Court Championships, $30,000 prize money, held at Salisbury Country Club. I've been there the last, since Monday, and I'll be there in an hour. And I believe we got women's round of 16 quarterfinals going on. Same thing for the men. And you're speaking about a sport of a lifetime. This tournament is very unique in the sense that you will have some Division III college players playing it, some Division I college players, some former college players, along with a sprinkle of WTA players in the lower rankings and ATP players. So you got McKenna Jones is playing in this. That's the number one seed. That's plays number one at the University of North Carolina. On the men's side, you got two Duke guys that are seeded. You have Will Spencer, who's won it a couple of times he played his days at the University of Georgia. So this tournament is rather unique because you get to see the pathway of tennis. So, there's some very good from the 757. We had many high school players that came up here to play in this event. And some of them look like a deer in the headlights, but they got some really good experience of playing against some very mature players who have done some really good things. I think a couple of one of the guys got to play against a current Notre Dame player that's about 10 in their lineup. But to sit up there and watch it is really cool to see that pathway. Plus, there's some nice money in it because there's a girl from Oklahoma State. Her goal is to win the tournament, and if you win the tournament, you get $7,500. And she wants to win the tournament, so that helps fund her to play some WTA event, and I think she made. I think she's in the quarterfinals right now. So, yeah, this Richmond McDonald's Clay Court Championship is really special, and I think it's going to spread where you're going to see this in other cities. I believe in this fall we'll have the Virginia Beach Clay Court Championships at Cape Henry Racket Club. We'll have doubles and singles, and we're going to dial it up with some prize money and so forth. And we'll take baby steps to try to progress to this Richmond Clay Court tournament. But the CVITP in Lynchburg, really had that was a good prize money tournament, and they bumped theirs up this year from $20,000 to $30,000. And I think Mark Bryan's lost to Drew Robinson this year, which that's kind of like that Mike Tyson getting knocked out by Buster Douglas or something.
Right, but Mark has played in the ATP Tour, still going at it. Well in his 50s. Yeah. Even Sonny Dirth played in the state clay courts. He played at James Madison. How did Sonny do?
I did watch Sonny play. Sonny's a legend at this tournament up here because I believe he's played it 20 straight years.
Yeah,
and I told Sonny that he's great at statistics for our area and the state. I go, but you're horrible at your own statistics. I mean, your own statistics need to be published because you're an icon. And we were going through his record and some of his big wins and so forth. He lost to a young kid in this tournament. And I mean, Sonny doesn't lose to himself, so if he gets overpowered, then hats off to the other guy. And Sonny did get overpowered, but he's an icon up here. And the owner of the tournament, Bill Barnes, talks about him often in conversations. And some of the juniors that came up from Greensboro, North Carolina, they were rather excited to meet Sonny because, he's 50 years old, a little bit over 50, in good shape. And, the guy played number one at James Madison. And he's a tough out, If for you to become a tennis player, it's like passing toward Monopoly, you got to be able to beat Sonny. Once you beat Sonny, then you arrive.
Yeah,
and he's the gateway.
Now, you talk about tennis in general. You recently stepped down at Norfolk State. You've been coaching, and of course, that takes a lot of travel. And of course, you've had young kids over the years, but you've given your time, your talent, and your treasure to the sport of tennis your entire life. At Old Dominion and Norfolk State, and your coaching tenure as well.
Yes. I was a college coach for 20. I'm 55 years old, and I was a college coach for 25 of those years. And I also coached Virginia Wesleyan for 3 years. So it was kind of special. I'm born and raised in Norfolk. And for me to coach all three of the universities now was really special. And it was never necessarily really about coaching college tennis because it wasn't like I was going to go to Nebraska or somewhere. This is my community, and this is where I'll stay for the rest of my life. And so it's kind of neat to coach those teams and really integrate them into part of the community. And we had some phenomenal players over the year, even at the Division III level. Graham Wilson becoming State Player of the Year was a pretty special thing because that was a lot of competition, but also having Isaac Van der Merwe and Tippy Abziller in the main draw of Wimbledon in 2008 was certainly special, and they come back to the area from time to time.
Right.
So anyway, so we're going to get some younger person in there to coach up Norfolk State. I fully endorse my assistant coach Brittany Pilkington, and at Old Dominion I have a former player coaching there, coaching the women's team with Don Manella. They did a great job this year. They finished top 40 NCAA qualifications, and a lot of other honors and accolades and so forth for their individual players, and they got a special girl on that team that I'm really partial to, Brooke Pilkington, who was a conference USA newcomer of the year and the team MVP. So I'm definitely pro 757. So you either got to be from here are willing to live here or come back here and visit. So I think it's a very special community.
Yeah, I think now that you're retired, you're going to see the full fruits of your blessings at Cape Henry, that you can make it into a world-class resort near the ocean front. Near the ocean front, you'll be able to develop more time into it, a place for locals and tourists both, because to me, it's got a lot of potential for tourists because it's so close to the ocean front that they can't just jump in the water every single day. They got got your tennis facility. Now, you've had Leanne Thompson, who was in your age bracket, and of course, you know Julie Shiflett real well, but there haven't been that many others from this area who've done as well as they have, especially Leanne Thompson. She had a really decent career. She had a lot of injuries, though.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we're going to definitely scale up the program there at Cape Henry Racket Club, and we refer to it as the Cape sometimes. So now in the afternoons, we have practice at the Cape going on, and we have some very good girls that are playing out there. And then we have some people that come back and visit us that kind of contribute there. Like we've had some kids from Katie Sullivan, who plays for Yale. I'm sorry, plays for Columbia. She wouldn't like that if I said Yale. She plays for Columbia, and she's out there in the afternoon. Ramesh has come back. He's a rising senior, rising junior at the Naval Academy. So if we can collectively get some of our top players together, and Sonny's agreed to come over and share in these experiences, we can certainly motivate and create the atmosphere for bigger and better things as we share the experiences, and whether they be going to top colleges and or developing professional players. And as you mentioned there, which is a really, really good point, and I forget sometimes, Virginia Beach is a destination place. So we're going to have more college showcases where we've been bringing in people from all around the world there, and bring in college coaches that certainly benefit the Cape Henry Racket Club business and the Cummings athletics business, but it also adds to an additional experience to all the players in the 757. So that's certainly a goal that I think we'll be able to achieve. But then as a personal goal, I want to start playing tennis more. And, Greg, I want to have a winning record against you in singles. I don't think I have that now. So I want to get in shape where I can have a winning record against you in singles. And Sonny. So I'd like to have you and Sonny, play some singles. And as long as I have a winning record, I'll feel very happy about that.
Hey, my singles record is 2-0 at your club, so I'm very happy. But you and I played in the Stonehenge way back in the day in Richmond, another great event as well. Darryl, go ahead and plug your address and phone number and how people can get a hold of you.
Sure. Cape Henry Racket Club is the last exit going to Virginia Beach off of Birdneck, 1350 Waterfront Drive in Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23451. And if you want information about programs and some of the offerings that we have, or you just want to talk tennis with me, my cell number, you can call or text me at 757-641-6146.
Very good, Darryl. All the best to you and your family. A great summer ahead of tennis. And, of course, the U.S. Open's coming up as well. So a lot to look forward to in this wonderful sport of tennis. All the best to you and the good people at Cape Henry.
Greg, thank you very much for promoting athletics and tennis. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Darryl. Always a pleasure. Darryl Cummings right there, and our good friends at Guy Fieri's Dive and Taco Joint in Hampton at Power Plant Parkway. Excellent place for tacos, sides, beverages, and the most pleasing atmosphere. Brand new to Hampton. Of course, Donnie Tuck was there recently, the former Washington Redskins PR director and current mayor of Hampton. Great place for food and beverages is Guy Fieri's Dive and Taco Joint. That's it. The guy from the Food Network. See you there.
Thank you, too, for your great show, because it really makes people think about topics that are important. I listen and I love, and I've called in before, too. I just really appreciate your program. I also think that it's good to have debates because it lets us all dig a little deeper. Hey, what does God's Word say about that? So I appreciate your show. I think it's great, and I think we all should be digging deeper into the Word of God and seeking God as to what He's called us to do.
Be sure to tune in to Picking Up the Habit every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. here on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM.
Interact Connect with Sports Scene on Twitter at Greg Bick. Email bicogb@hotmail.com. Now back to Greg Bicouvaris in the Hampton Roads OnlineMall.com studios.
We'd like to welcome the men and women in uniform serving around the world listening to today's version of Sports Scene on YouTube and TuneIn.com. Thank you for all that you do, and we hope you're enjoying today's version of Sports Scene. Our regular monthly featured guest is George McClain from the Marksman and Newport News. George, how are you?
Doing very well, Greg. I hope you're doing as well as we have all been here lately.
Yeah, good health to you, and glad everything is going well and progressing forward. That's first and foremost. Last month, of course, we talked about the tragic scene in Virginia Beach, and we always talk about current events with George before we talk about his store that's open 7 days a week in Newport News. But George, this has to be one of the craziest stories I've ever heard in my life. This happened in Virginia, where a woman who was naked, attacked a family home, went into the home, in their brand new home in Chesterfield County, and of course charged at the family, attacked all the members of the family, and she said she was the devil, and the male that was in there trying to defend his family said she had the strength of several men. And of course the police did come by. She's being treated herself, but that has to be the weirdest thing. It was a neighbor, basically. She lived close by, and she basically christened that home with a very negative, bloody scene. Unbelievable.
These days, Greg, nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah, it happened at 10:30 at night, and she entered the home through the basement. And that's a good example of when your family is attacked, George, you have to be ready, no matter when, whether it's on home or on the road.
Well, that's right, and I don't even know this family. As a matter of fact, until you had said that, I've been buried in paperwork the last couple of days, so I hadn't even heard that story. But I can guarantee you, what was going through that family's mind just before that happened at 10:30 at night in their own home is that this is as safe gets, and we're here in our home, we're relaxed, we're comfortable, not a care in the world, and then all of a sudden, it's too late. If you're not prepared at that point, it's too late to get prepared when it actually happens. Mm-hmm. And unless they had something right there, and I hope everything turned out well. I don't know how it ended, and but when something like that happens, we just don't know how it's going to end because we don't know what the perpetrator is going to do. And if she had the strength of several people, was she the devil? Could have been. She could have been on the PCP or something that's going to give her the strength and the courage that she thinks she has to go with it. And most of us, if we're not ready to deal with something like that, we're gonna lose.
Yeah, one more note about this, because, you have to keep your guard up, folks, at home and on the road. One of the children, George, stopped the attacker by shoving a wrench into her neck. The woman is in ICU. Once she's out, she'll be charged with robbery, breaking and entering, and attempted murder. And this is in a brand new home, a nice family here, excited about moving in their home, and this is their way they're going to, break it in, unfortunately.
Yeah, Well, like I say, anymore, nothing surprises me, and you have to be prepared, for anything. And I don't mean to, put fear in people to where you don't feel like you can go outside, or in this case, you can't even relax in your own home. But it doesn't take superhuman effort to prepare yourself for some of the basic, things. And so what do you need to prepare yourself? Well, everyone thinks, all right, well, he's a gun nut, so you're going to talk about guns. And, okay, maybe you should probably, have that, but, non-lethal force means is always the way to go unless it gets, escalated up to where you have to use deadly force. You don't necessarily start at the top unless you're confronted immediately with a deadly situation and you have no other choice to do it. But we could all have pepper spray or some other type of non-lethal means to use as a defense. And then if that escalates, when we teach our regular security guard classes to the guys that have to have the license to be a security guard within the state, and we do that training at the Marksman but we use, as the state mandates, a use of force continuum, and that's a section that we have to teach that shows that you go from a verbal command to non-lethal and escalates up to lethal if it gets that far. And you have to know the law. You have to use your head and let the circumstances dictate your method and how much force that you're going to be required to use at that particular instance. Talking to George McClain from the Marksman, getting some current events going on, and I'm glad everybody's safe there. But you always talk about how politely that you should never pull your gun out unless you really, really, really have to, and even double check again. But that's a case where a personal family was attacked in their own home, and their lives were all threatened very dearly. Yeah, that certainly sounds like that was that was the case. Again, a lot of unknowns there, and it sounds like the bad person got the worst end of the deal. Which that's the way it should work out. But that's something that if that's a kid, I don't know how old this kid is, that had to do something like that. That's something we talk about PTSD all the time. That's something that could stay with that individual for the rest of their lives, that they had to take that kind of an action against another human being. Talk about mental trauma. Of course, a legislator made a really good point the other day. It's not about the gun or the knife that's going to kill somebody. It's the mental health of the individual entering a building and doing it. Well, that's right. And as much as we would like to be able to legislate that kind of control over someone, that's a fallacy. You're never going to be able to legislate mental competence. That's something that people lay in. I guess that politicians lay in bed at night and dream about, but it's an impractical solution. You cannot do it through legislation. How we can do it is training the right people. If you want to legislate something that's got some teeth into it, and these people do something like that, put them away and put them away to where it counts, instead of slapping their hands take their gun rights away from them. Well, they don't care if they got gun rights. They don't care if they got any rights. Your criminal doesn't care if it's against the law to do something. That's what makes them a criminal. They're going to go out and do it anyway. Yeah. So you got to just get them off the street. Talking to George McClain from the Marksman. What's new coming up in the rest of July and August? Anything new at the store? Well, just weathering out the summertime heat, and letting the guys and the gals come in and take advantage. You were talking about the military, and we like to push that. We take care of our vets. I'm a vet. We get veterans that come in. If you're there on Mondays and Fridays is when we have our first responder Mondays, and we've got specials pretty much all week long. 1st and the 15th are active duty military, and we get the free days for that, and then on the Fridays you get another 20% off of the regular fee that the military gets. So anytime you want to come in and take out some stress, we're the place to do it. One advantage the police and the military and the veterans like yourself had is that you were trained in firearms, and I guess that's that's a special skill, special talent, and of course it's very beneficial not only when you're as a police officer or military, but also when you're retired and you're a civilian as well, that you've got that training in your background. Well, it certainly helps you out when you do further training, and you have the understanding of what lies behind that training, what's the purpose of doing it, and what's the proper way of doing it. And so where a lot of us have you become firearm instructors in civilian life, it makes it a lot easier to pass on to a civilian, try to get them into the mindset of thinking the way that they should be thinking, to think the way that the military does, but not from a military enemy. This is just obviously from self-defense type of thing, which everyone has a right to do, is defend yourself and defend your family. But if you're not prepared to do that, you're just going to panic because you have nothing to respond with.
Yeah, like we always say on this show with George, be prepared. The phone number is 757-872-4130. Great staff on hand, open 7 days a week at the Marksman in Newport News, conveniently located for everybody on the peninsula. They also have people, locals, tourists, people from the south side, everywhere coming all over to the Marksman in Newport News. Military Mondays, first responder Fridays. And I guess whether you want to buy something at your store there, a firearm, or learn from one of the instructors or go to a class, really, it's always evolving at your store with your staff there being available 7 days a week.
Oh, that's right. You don't have to come in and spend money. Just come in and check us out, and shoot the bull a little bit. Talk to us and see what's going on. Just come in and hang out and see how try that out, see how it goes, and I'm sure. I'm fond of saying we'll treat you so many ways you'll have to like one of them. So you'll find something that you like about us, I'm sure.
We can't repeat this enough. How old does somebody have to be there to enter the Marksman, take a class, and learn?
Well, you got to be legal age, which is 21, and that's only not only the legal side of things. That's also the insurance side of things. Now, if mom or dad or your legal guardian is with you, then you can be of any age to come in and shoot. So it's basically 21 or with someone who is 21 who will take responsibility for you.
Very good. All right, George, thank you so much. Look forward to the remainder of the summer. Of course, we'll talk to you again in August, and all the best to you and the great staff of the Marksman in Newport News.
All right, Greg. Same to you. Stay safe and stay comfortable in that heat out there.
Very good. Glad you were doing well. Great to hear your voice.
Thank you, sir.
All right, George McClain right there from the Marksman in Newport News. Something for everyone. And, folks, you got to be prepared in this world that we live in. And, of course, George McClain's one of the best, the authorities in safety. Stay tuned.
Thank you, too, for your great show, because it really makes people think about topics that are important. I listen and I love, and I've called in before, too. I just really appreciate your program. I also think that it's good to have debates because it lets us all dig a little deeper. Hey, what does God's Word say about that? So I appreciate your show. I think it's great, and I think we all should be digging deeper into the Word of God and seeking God as to what He's called us to do.
Be sure to tune into Picking Up the Habit every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. here on the Lighthouse 100.1 FM.
You are listening to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris. Now, back to Greg. It's now time for Greg's Highlights, presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
All right, highlights, gjbtv.com, hrsmhof.com, HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com, gjbtv.com. Click the YouTube link for archive shows as well. I want to thank our good friends at Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News for the question of the day presented by Buffalo Wild Wings to our esteemed producer, Andrew. Andrew, in general, summer road trips, fall road trips, or just driving around town, errands with your kids, if it's you and your wife both in the car, do you prefer driving or do you divvy it up 50-50?
I don't prefer driving, but I end up doing most of it just because my wife prefers to go at sort of a slower pace and just kind of get there when she gets there. I like to just get there and then do what we're doing. If we're just driving around, going to different shops or whatever, then that's a different thing. But if we have a clear destination, we're trying to get somewhere quickly, I'll usually go ahead and do it, and we get there at a timely fashion and get the fun started.
Very good. I want to thank our good friends at Oh Yummy Sushi, best Japanese cuisine in Virginia Beach. Give them a call at 631-6888 and visit them at North Great Neck Road in Virginia Beach. Stay tuned.
Mold, trash, rodents, snakeskin, even deceased animals. No, this isn't a Halloween shopping list. It's what might be under your house, in your crawl space. Schedule a free crawl space inspection with the Crawl Space Company and find out what's in your crawl space. Call 757-394-3494 to schedule your free inspection or visit thecrawlspacecompany.net. So, do you know what's in your crawl space? Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
I want to thank our good friends at CP Shuckers, locals tradition on Shore Drive, Pacific Avenue. Delicious food, great appetizers, steak bites, sandwiches, burgers, all the games on TV. Go by and see Chef Leon, Matt, Mark, the entire crew. Your summer headquarters is CP Shuckers. All right. Before we get to our next guest, Ian Locke from the Norfolk Tides, of course, the Braves doing very well in the National League. Look at Mike Soroka, 21 years old. Ronald Acuna Jr., 21. Ozzie Albies in his early 20s, as well as Austin Riley. The Braves have a big upside, and, of course, they're playing good baseball pre- and post-All-Star break. Speaking of the All-Star break, let's welcome Ian Locke. Ian, how are you, buddy?
I'm great, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Well, tell us about the Tides' involvement with the All-Star game.
So we had, with the All-Star game, we had two players. Keegan Aiken was a pitcher who's only 24 years old, and Ryan Mountcastle, who's 22 years old. Both played in the International League All-Star game. Aiken got the start in that game. So good to see a couple of Tides represented. We also had one of our coaches, Ramon Sambo, was a coach for the team as well out in El Paso, Texas. So good to see those guys represented. And then a former Tide, a pitcher, John Means, was the representative for the Orioles this year. Orioles obviously having a bit of a rough year, but John Means has had a fantastic season. I think he went into the All-Star break second in the American League in earned run average. Had 7 wins for an Orioles team that doesn't have a ton of wins right now. So John pitched primarily with the Tides last season. So it was good to see him kind of get that nod. And he didn't get to pitch in the game, but had from all accounts, seemed to have a great experience. And we wish him continued success for sure.
Talking to Ian Locke, and of course everybody needs a break, but I just mentioned some young players from the Braves. It seems like a lot of the younger guys dominated the All-Star game as well.
Yeah, it's fun to see. I mean, that's the future of baseball is certainly bright. I mean, you got guys in the All-Star game who played so well, and also the Home Run Derby was just super exciting with Jock Peterson and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and of course Pete Alonso, performing so. It's impressive to see what they can do. I mean, they hit the ball so far, and they're so young, and they're some great personalities too. That's the folks who baseball. The future, like I said, the future of baseball is bright, and to be able to build around those personalities and those players, those franchises are extremely lucky to have those guys, and they're going to be familiar faces in the game for years to come. Yeah,
that was a bucket list event I had a chance to attend last year in Washington, and of course next year it'll be in Los Angeles. I know people are looking forward to it on the West Coast as well. Well, give us the lay of the land of the Tides, good, bad, and ugly.
Good. Like I said, Mountcastle, who's our first baseman, he's played a little bit of third base and left field this year for the Tides, and he went into the All-Star break leading almost, ranked among the league leaders in hits and home runs and RBIs, extra base hits, on base percentage. He's the real deal, and he's only 22 years old. No real rush to get him to Baltimore at this point. The Orioles are scuffling a little bit. They're kind of in a rebuild mode, and there's a lot of, let Ryan play here every day kind of thing, and take his lumps a little bit when they do come. But kid's hitting over 300 the first half of the year and hasn't had a whole lot of bad streaks going on. So Ryan Mountcastle for Orioles fans is certainly someone to keep an eye on. Austin Hayes is an outfielder who's had a fantastic year in 2017. Got up to the Orioles, hit 30-something home runs at the minor league level, drove in over 100 runs, and got a brief cup of coffee with the Orioles at the end of the 2017 season. Had a really injury-plagued 2018, and he's had a little bit of injury troubles this year as well. Had some injury at the end of spring training and had some issues in June, but rejoined the Tides, and he's an exciting talent to see. And then, of course, Keegan Aiken, we mentioned before, who started the All-Star game for the International League, left-hand pitcher, young guy, and people expect a lot of good things with him. He went into the All-Star break ranked second in the league in strikeouts too. So good young power pitcher, and good personality, kind of a bulldog on the mound, and it's impressive to watch him pitch every fifth day here with the Tides.
Yeah, I mentioned the good, bad, and the ugly. Sometimes losing can be ugly, but one thing I got to give a lot of credit to: your team has kept their energy flowing really well, especially your manager too.
Yeah, and Gary's. For those who don't know, Gary Kendall, our manager, it's his first season at the AAA level after being with AA Bowie for the last 7 or 8 years, and it's a tough job. It's a tough gig to have. For those who don't know, again, we have no say in our players. So when Bowie, sometimes the Orioles will dip down and take a player from Bowie at the AA level, maybe 5-10 times a year kind of thing. They're doing that here at the Norfolk level, AAA level, 5-10 times a week. Taking our roster, taking our pitchers, taking whoever needs anything up there. If the Orioles play an extra inning game or they use a bunch of pitchers in a game, they don't want to go into their next contest shorthanded. So they will often dip down here and kind of use the Tides as an extra bench spot. And I think Gary's seen that a lot this year in his first experience at the AAA level, to see how often the Orioles tinkering with their lineup and their roster messes up ours a little bit, because you can have everything lined up and you have a starting pitcher set to go and 3 relievers behind him, and all of a sudden the Orioles call and say, hey, we need so and so to come start for us today. We lose our starting pitcher, and now we're throwing a bullpen game, and just like that, our bullpen is taxed for a couple of games. Well, that's the nature of the beast, but it's something that we have to deal with on a yearly basis.
It seems like everybody's bullpen, that's been a big issue in Major League Baseball and minor league baseball. And folks, let me just tell you, someone who grew up here, you got the amusement parks, we know that, in Williamsburg and Richmond. You've got the water parks in Virginia Beach and Williamsburg, and the oceanfront, of course. But the 2 things to do in the summer in Norfolk and Virginia Beach are the oceanfront and the Tides. And really, that's a lot of dates, a lot of home games, 70-plus games when you maybe include the postseason in. So that's a lot. We always joke about college football season. I mean, that's equivalent to at least 10-plus college football seasons in one season for you guys. Yeah,
and I joke a little bit about that too, working in college Ian, going back and say, hey, college Ian, why didn't you pick football where you have 8 to 10 home games or something like that? That's easy. We have that in a week and a half here sometimes. So it is tough. I mean, especially with the Tides having so many games. I mean, we do get in office hours, start around 10 a.m. here at the ballpark, and when the team's on the road, we end up leaving at 5. But if the team is playing a home game, at usually about 7 o'clock at night, we're here till 10, 11, 12 o'clock, depending on how long the games go. So there's some long days involved in that. But it is also, we do get to get paid to watch baseball, which isn't a terrible thing at all. So
yep.
It's a good time at the ballpark, like you mentioned. I mean, the summertime we have things going on here at the stadium all the time. Every Saturday night is fireworks. We have giveaways. We have happy hour specials. We have afternoon ball games and stuff. So I encourage folks to go check out our website at norfolktides.com and kind of see what we have going on, because we pride ourselves in having something every single night for the fans to come out and watch the game. And every single game we have here as well, kids can run the bases too. So those who are little baseball fans and want to go on the field where the pros play, come on out. We can, after the game ends, 5 minutes after the game ends, you can run the bases and kind of get that experience and check that off the bucket list.
Talking to Ian Locke. Ian, give us some staff directory highlights.
Yes, I mean, we have full-time staff, about 15 to 20 folks, depending on what time of year it is. And our GM, Joe Gregory, does a great job kind of overseeing the everything at our level. I mean, at the minor league level, a GM doesn't necessarily have anything to do with player transactions, but it's a lot of sales and marketing and things like that, and just kind of every day-to-day business, and that's Joe's job. And then myself, I do a lot of the communications, where it's if you see any Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, all those social media stuff, and our website and any interview requests, it kind of falls under my umbrella. And we got a great staff. We got a veteran staff of folks who have been here a long time, and we do. It is a grind, like I said, for the season and the long days, but we get to know each other very well, because we're here. You're surrounded by the same people, 15 hours a day, and get to know everyone and their families, and it's just a great experience here at the ballpark, and we love to put on a good show for folks when they do come by.
Very good. Ian, how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so if they can check us out on Facebook or Twitter, just search Norfolk Tides, and you'll be able to find us there. Instagram as well, and like I said, norfolktides.com. We'll have all our latest promotions, our latest game recaps and stories. And if you want to read more on any of our players, feel free to log on to our website. We've got all sorts of stories and features up there. And like I said, buying tickets online is super easy at norfolktides.com. And our promotional schedule is there as well. So if you want to see when the next fireworks night is, or your favorite giveaway, give that a shout, and we'll be able to hook you up.
Very good, my friend. We look forward to talking to you in a few weeks.
All right, sounds great. Thanks, Greg.
Very good. Ian Locke right there from the Norfolk Tides. Stay tuned.
Half of all pregnancies in the U.S. are unplanned, and 43% of those pregnancies end in abortion. CareNet Peninsula is a nonprofit on a mission to bring help and hope in Christ to women facing pregnancy decisions. We're completely community funded. Because of faithful partners, our medical clinic provides free pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, and many other services. This support saves lives of hundreds of preborn babies a year and changes families. Will you help us? Donate or find out more at cnpeninsula.org. That's cnpeninsula.org.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
And I want to thank our good friends at Sakura Japanese Restaurant. Go by and see Jasmine and her wonderful staff. Sushi bar, takeout, dine-in. They deliver as well. Ask about delivering at 1437 Sam's Drive in Chesapeake, right near the big Walmart. Phone number is 410-4577. Open major holidays 7 days a week as well for your lunch and dinner dining pleasure. Gina Ippolito from Smithfield VA Events. Happy July. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Very good, very good. I guess we're getting to the stretch run now, basically, as we're, middle of the month here, as August, September, and October. Then you got your first event of the fourth quarter.
I know it sounds crazy, but October will be here before we know it. But yeah, July is a big month for us. We kick off what we call our season of events July 1st. So our season is our 3 events. So they run. Bacon Fest is first in October, and then Bob Fest is in January, and then the Wine and Brew Fest is in April. So we have a couple new things going on this year with our ticket sales, and I'll be glad to tell you all about those.
We'll talk about it.
So July 1st, the last couple years, we've kicked off what we call early bird tickets. They're tickets with some VIP perks. They're available starting July 1st for each event. You can get them early. This is all ahead of the general ticket releases that happen prior to each event for just the general admission tickets. But our events sell out really quickly, sometimes within minutes, and if not within minutes, within a couple of days. And that's all usually, 2 to 2.5 months prior to an event. So to give people some options, 2 years ago we started the early bird tickets. So they are $100 a piece. The bourbon is $125, but you can buy those now for each one of the events for the next season. So that's nothing new, but it did kick off July 1st. And then this year, what is brand new is what we are offering what's called a season ticket. And those are also available July 1st. And those have been selling quite well over the last 10 days. So you can, for $195, get a ticket for each of the events for this season. If you know you're ahead of time, you're coming to all 3 of them. So the $195 is for all events with the non-bourbon ticket, and then for $220, you can get the tickets for all 3 events with the bourbon ticket for the one in October. So those are all on sale now on our website, and kind of a new thing. And then that will all get followed up July 24th at 7 a.m. and July 25th at 8 p.m. are the 2 general admission ticket releases for the Bacon Bourbon Festival in October.
Very nice. They're really something for everyone. And, you have 3 events a year in a calendar year, so you're really always planning, always looking ahead. But the one good positive thing is you're pretty much consistent with Windsor Castle Park.
Oh, absolutely. We are so lucky that in downtown Smithfield we've got this beautiful park, and this year, it won't be done in time for the Bacon Bourbon Fest, but the restoration of the manor house and the barns and the whole historic easement there will be complete by the end of the year. So as we roll around, not that it matters so much for Bob Fest because we hold that underneath the big tent, but for next year's wine festival, it'll be really beautiful and we haven't quite figured out how we're going to incorporate the inside of the manor house into our events yet. But the restoration project that we've been on and off living with for the last 3 years will be totally over this season. So we're looking forward to that. And the town, of course, will be gearing back up starting next year to go back to holding other events at the site. We're doing weddings and wedding receptions, both out on the historic property. And also you'll be able to rent the inside of the manor house, which is going to be just beautiful. It's a house from the 1700s that the town is fully restoring. So that's pretty exciting for Smithfield itself starting in 2020.
Right, but for the bacon lovers, that's the big event coming up in the fourth quarter. Of course, that, like you mentioned, Windsor Castle Park, really an event, a go-to place for locals and tourists year-round, and great events, holidays, whatever. But bacon, it's all about bacon in October, right?
It is all about bacon and all about bourbon. Mm-hmm. So, of course, we still have the Virginia craft breweries here, and your tickets include the tastings for those, and we also sell wine by the glass or the bottle. But the big attractions are for the October event. You get half a pound of Smithfield bacon, which is about 8 thick slices, and then you get a trip through what we call our bacon condiment bar. So you can eat it hot off the grill like it comes, or you can take it in there, and it comes with a couple flour tortillas, so you can make a BLT wrap. We've got stuff to do like bacon nachos with cheese and the peppers. We've got seasonings. We've got dips. And we even have pancakes and syrup in case you want to do a breakfast. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people get their bacon and run through the condiment tent. And then, of course, the other attraction to this event is our bourbons. And we will once again be offering somewhere between 65 and 75 high-end, hard-to-get, small batch, specialty bourbons. We work hard all year long to obtain bourbon, which in the state of Virginia has got to be very difficult. But once again, we will be having a pretty mature bourbon list. Some of the bourbons are already listed on our website. We continually update that between now and the event with other ones that we obtain, through the rest of the summer. But that's always very, very popular. About 2/3 of our crowd do get the bourbon ticket, and you get 10 samplings out of the 8 bourbon stations that we have. You can go around, and we print a little bourbon card so you can take notes on the ones you like and plan ahead to try to get to the stations that have the bourbons that you want to taste. So it's the bacon and the bourbon. It's all about that.
Very nice. Leave us with the website and how people can get a hold of you.
The website is, and that's another change we've had for this season. So all of our websites have been overhauled and consolidated into one, which is the same one we've been doing, but it's www.smithfieldvaevents.com. And from there you can, it lists our 3 events, and you can click on whichever ones you're interested on, or you can click on individual tickets, which tell you the different options. Like I said, we talked about earlier in this conversation, the regular general admission tickets, the early bird with VIP perks, and our new season tickets. And then it also talks about our tables, party chalets, and sponsorships. And if you're interested in those, you can give me a call. I'm Gina, and my phone number is 757-869-0664. And if you didn't catch that, just go to the website. All that information is on there, how to get in touch with me, how to buy tickets. And like I said, right now you currently can buy tickets for all 3 events on the Buy Online Ticket tab. And if you're interested in the season tickets or the early bird ticket.
Very good, Gene. All the best for the rest of the month. We'll talk to you in late August and look forward to it.
All right. You have a good rest of your summer.
Very good. Thank you, Gina.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Gina Ippolito right there. I want to thank our good friends at Outback Steakhouse in Kempsville. Go by and see Mike and the wonderful staff. Spacious, nice dining area, bar, lunch and dinner daily. Excellent burgers, steaks, soup, salads, seafood, pasta, chicken ribs, desserts, a kids menu, dining or carry out. They deliver. They're located at 1255 Fordham Drive in Virginia Beach, conveniently located in the Kempsville area. Call ahead at 523-4832. And of course, go by and see Mike and the friendly staff. Get some great food at Outback Steakhouse for lunch and dinner 7 days a week in Virginia Beach at Fordham Drive. Stay tuned.
What tees you off? Presented by HamptonRoadsOnlineMall.com.
All right, I want to thank our good friends at Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Go by and see Paul and the wonderful staff. They sponsor Andrew's segment. Salads, boneless traditional wings, all types of great specials, excellent new menu, burgers, wraps, all great kids menu, all the games on TV, wings, beer, sports, located at 12150 Jefferson Avenue in Newport News. Go by and see Paul, eat lunch, dinner there 7 days a week. Have a great time with friends and family at Buffalo Wild Wings and Newport News. Something for everyone. All right, what teased me off? Andrew is loudmouths. People that always have to be loud.
Yes, people who are around me know that I tend to be a little bit more quiet and reserved, so that they're kind of my nemesis a little bit, my polar opposite. So I love many people who are very loud and vocal, but in general, I prefer a more quiet tone in my life.
People, whether at work or at church or at home or anything, we're all stuck sometimes, but people always use any excuse to leave early.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you got to know there are different seasons, different times for different things in your life. So there are times when you need to say goodbye, when you need to move on. I prefer somebody move on than create a toxic environment. But in general, though, you need to keep your commitments. You need to work with people and try and plant yourself in some community.
When you're involved in a situation with one person and then another person out of nowhere wants to get involved or supersede your discussion, whether it's good or bad, that's not good. How about the party A and B? Let's leave C out of it.
Yeah, that's a horrible situation. And again, kind of talking about creating a toxic environment. I mean, that's one of those things that contribute to something like that. Sometimes you do need a mediator. You need a third person to sort of come in and help. But that should be something that both parties agree on and something that a person both parties trust. But certainly someone butting in is not what you want in a situation like that.
Yeah, I was having a conversation in a parking lot at a big box store, and somebody out of the blue just tried to interrupt our conversation. All right, waiting for someone to get off the phone, Andrew, in front of you while you're there. That's horrible.
Yeah, I guess it is. You know, people actually talk on the phone less and less, I think, particularly among my peers. So I don't know that I can really think of a time where that happened to me necessarily, but I can imagine it would be very frustrating. And of course, I deal with people sitting in front of me texting while we're trying to have a conversation. So that's a whole other set of issues.
Well, you could be in the car and somebody could be talking. It's just kind of rude to talk in front of somebody else. Bartenders who make it very obvious they only care about tips.
Gosh, yeah. Well, I have never been to a bar, as a matter of fact. Not casting any shade on those who do, but I actually cannot relate at all, so I don't know if I would be teed at that or not.
Yeah, well, at a restaurant or so forth. You can tell when a waiter wants their tip, regardless. Sudden urges, Andrew, we all have them. Whether it's food, we're hungry, we have to go to the restroom real quick. Anything out of your normal routine.
Yeah, you know, shaking up the routine can be good, but it certainly, I think during the day when you're doing your work or whatever and you're trying to get through the Monday through Friday, just what you need to get done, yeah, it's good to be able to just go right through your normal set of circumstances, and things getting thrown in the middle of that can be a real challenge.
Last few things, this can happen anytime, but especially at night, indigestion.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, I used to deal with that a lot, changed my diet the last couple of years, and I rarely have that anymore, and I'm super thankful for that. I've given up some things that I really loved, but I got to tell you, not having indigestion, I love that just a lot more. So I remember those nights, though, for sure.
All right, phony applause. This really gets on my nerves. At any public or private event, it takes a lot of time, especially when the moderator says, keep the applause to a minimum or wait till the event is over with.
Oh, my goodness. I can think of a few graduations I've been to around here where people were asked to hold their applause. And, yeah, it can be super frustrating and honestly just kind of disrespectful. It's almost awkward how disrespectful some people can be in public places like that. So, yeah, I agree. I'm right there with you.
My dad used to say always, people would say how great things are. Well, things aren't always great. But another word that really teased me off is when people say the word amazing. I mean, when a baseball team has got a so-so record, they're not amazing. Watch the words you use, Andrew. Amazing is a very strong word.
We live in the era of hype. Everybody's trying to hype up everything, even the most commonplace, ordinary circumstances or individuals. So I don't like it either, but I don't think we're going to be hearing any less of it anytime soon.
All right, that's what teased me off.
Mold, trash, rodents, snakeskin, even deceased animals. No, this isn't a Halloween shopping list. It's what might be under your house, in your crawl space. Schedule a free crawl space inspection with the Crawl Space Company and find out what's in your crawl space. Call 757-394-3494 to schedule your free inspection or visit thecrawlspacecompany.net. So, do you know what's in your crawl space?
Half of all pregnancies in the U.S. are unplanned, and 43% of those pregnancies end in abortion. CareNet Peninsula is a nonprofit on a mission to bring help and hope in Christ to women facing pregnancy decisions. We're completely community funded. Because of faithful partners, our medical clinic provides free pregnancy tests, ultrasounds, and many other services. This support saves lives of hundreds of preborn babies a year and changes families. Will you help us? Donate or find out more at cnpeninsula.org. That's cnpeninsula.org.
Catch up on archived editions of Sports Scene by going to gjbtv.com and clicking the YouTube image on the homepage. Now back to Sports Scene with Greg Bicouvaris.
Well, our great guests today, Darryl Cummings, George McClain, Ian Locke, Gina Ippolito. For more, go to gjbtv.com. Hit the YouTube link. At Greg Bick on Twitter, at GJB Radio on Twitter. You can see the rest of my Twitter handles on gjbtv.com in the contact section. For Dominique and Andrew, I'm Greg Bicouvaris. We'll talk to you soon for Sports Scene.